Our series begins today as we see that everyone is preoccupied with the Love Alarm app. It's an app you download to your phone. Its gimmick is that it gives you a notification if someone in your area likes you, except for one person who wasn't interested in Love Alarm, JoJo. That's because JoJo has bigger concerns than thinking about love, even though many people around her admire her. Her focus is solely on school and work because her parents are deceased, and she currently lives with her aunt and cousin who treat her like a servant. JoJo works with her aunt at their grocery store after school and then does extra work at the grill shop. All of this is to support herself and pay for her academic lessons. No one feels burdened by her. But that's not all. JoJo also contributes money for her grandmother's hospital bills, as her aunt abandoned her after JoJo's mother's death. Here we understand how JoJo is a resilient and responsible girl despite her young age. Sadly, JoJo sometimes has to eat expired food that her aunt discards to save money for school and herself. One day her close friend asks her to download the app because she'll surely find many admirers. JoJo tells her that her phone can't support the app's version. Her friend suggests that JoJo's mother could buy her a new phone, but JoJo hasn't told any of her friends that her mother is deceased. She tells her friend she'll handle it. On the other side, we see San, the handsome guy, returning from America after finishing his championship. He goes to his friend's restaurant where he works to say hello. He sees him standing outside the restaurant and calls him to join him in the car. Young cancels on him, which surprises San. Moments later, he sees a beautiful girl leaving the restaurant. Young follows her until she boards the bus. San understands that Young likes this girl. Later, San asks Young to spend the night in his room today, which surprises Young. He asks San if he wants to leave his Grand Palace room and sleep in his humble room. Young finds San's request strange. We know that Young has lived with San since childhood in the same palace because Young's mother is San's housekeeper. They both wake up early the next day to go to school. When San enters the school, his love alarm keeps ringing because he's the most handsome guy in the school, and many girls admire him. By chance, he sees JoJo leaving the school, and they look at each other before she walks away. Over time, San notices that Young never takes his eyes off JoJo while they're at school. San asks Young to confess his love to her, but Young refuses, saying it's not possible because she always walks with another guy, Sun. San tries to convince him that she might not be involved with Sun and might just be cautious. Here, we learn that the guy San is talking about is named Sun, who always sticks to JoJo wherever she goes. She always tries to escape from him and can't stand him at all. One day, as JoJo leaves school, she feels someone following her, and when she turns around, she sees San. She asks him why he's watching her, but he tells her he came to tell her something. Suddenly, he realizes he likes her, and he also feels that she likes him, so he suddenly gets closer to her and they start walking together, joking and laughing. This makes JoJo late for her work at her aunt's grocery store. When she arrives, she finds her aunt waiting for her, yelling at her. Her aunt tells her she has become a burden and hurts her with her words, saying that the debts her mother left before she died are enough and that she doesn't need more problems. Meanwhile, San goes to his friend Young's house. He asks Young if he likes JoJo, to which Young denies. San is relieved and tells him it's good because he went out with her today. Here we notice signs of anger on Young's face. He leaves San and goes to sleep, feeling very upset. At school, we see Duck, a very mysterious boy who isn't very likable. But behind him, there's a mysterious secret. He has a crush on Gumi, JoJo's arrogant cousin, and he sends her a message on the app asking to meet her. Of course, she doesn't go, but JoJo happens to be nearby. Duck cries because Gumi didn't show up, so JoJo comforts him, and in the end, he gives her a new phone with the app installed on it as a gift. The next day, Sick, their classmate, enters the classroom yelling, showing his picture and approaching JoJo, hitting her. San can't defend himself because Sick is clearly very strong. When someone goes to report that his friend is being beaten, he quickly rushes to defend him. He ends up getting beaten up too. When JoJo learns about this, she goes to Sick to ask him why he did that. She is surprised when he confesses that he loves her and changed for her. She tells him that if he liked her, Love Alarm would have notified her when he was near her. He is shocked to realize that it didn't ring indeed, and she convinces him that it's just friendship feelings, nothing more. The next day, someone sends a message to the whole school containing a picture of JoJo and San together. They get exposed to the entire school. Gumi comes and continues to hit JoJo in front of everyone. threatening to reveal to everyone what happened to her parents before they died. Later, we learn more about love. We discover that it only works when someone loves you within a range of 10 meters from your location through the nerve signals humans emit. You can actually know if someone likes you or not. Then we find out that Jojo's close friend John is the one who took the picture of her and San and sent it to the school. The reason is that she is jealous of her because Stee likes her. It becomes clear that she loves Sick, but he doesn't know. Afterward, San asks Jojo to turn on Love Alarm together to see if their feelings are real or not. They actually go to a place within a 10-meter range, and there's no one else around. When they turn on Love Alarm, they are both surprised that it rings for both of them. This means that each of them likes the other and has genuine feelings. What's strange is that when Jojo walks around the school later, Love Alarm rings again. She gets excited and thinks that San is within a 10-meter range and wants to see him. But no, she looks around, but can't find him. So she follows the signals leading her to the school clinic. She opens the door and is surprised to find Young inside. He knows that she found out that he loves her. He quickly takes her hand and hides her behind the curtain of the clinic bed because he saw San coming after her. San enters the clinic to check on Young. Young tells him that he fell off his bike on his way to school and asks him to continue their conversation outside. At lunch break, San meets Jojo and asks her to join him on a school trip to Jeju Island. She refuses for a specific reason related to her family's past, but tells him she's busy with work. He tells her if she doesn't go, he won't go either. Then he gives Jojo a meal card for the school cafeteria, which will ensure she doesn't miss her meals and can eat at school like other students. He tells her to take care of herself and eat well. Jojo is very happy because now she can eat regularly at school for free. After that, she goes to sit alone at a table. We realize she's been bullied since her relationship with San. But we're surprised when San goes to sit next to her while she's eating and gives her some of his food. He tells her to eat well because she's got work to do. Of course, this doesn't sit well with the other girls at school who glare at them. Later, Gumi tells the whole school that Jojo used San to pay for her school meals. San mocks her and tells her to stay out of Jojo's way. He shocks her and tells her he would never be interested in someone like her. He also doesn't believe the rumors she spreads about Jojo because in the end, he'll choose Jojo, not her. Then the journalists come to interview San's mother, the famous retired star. They want to do an interview with her. She pretends they're a happy family and lies to the press, saying she does everything in the house herself for the sake of her son, San. But the truth is the housekeeper is the one who does everything, and she's actually Young's mother. That's why Young and San are childhood friends, raised together. Young feels sorry for San because he knows his family doesn't love him. All this is just for the press. And because Young saved San before when his mother tried to get rid of him by giving him an overdose of sedatives when he was a child. The next day, Jojo agrees to go on a trip to Jeju Island because of San. During the trip, Jojo meets Mil-young. She tells him the truth about Jojo's parents' death. He gets angry and asks her why she's telling him this. If he were in her place, he would think about himself too. How could she talk about her cousin like that anyway? But she tries to convince him to speak up against Jojo. At night, they all gather in the hotel room, playing games and laughing. Despite themselves, a fire breaks out, causing Jojo to have a panic attack. She remembers what happened to her family when she was a child and how she tried to wake them up during a fire but couldn't. She was forced to open the window and escape to save her life and went to her grandmother's. Of course, it wasn't easy at all for Jojo. She feels guilty every time she remembers she couldn't save her parents when she was a child. The next day of the trip, San takes Jojo on his motorcycle and tours her around the island. But he keeps looking at her and doesn't pay attention to the road, which causes them to have an accident. 4 years pass. With protests in the streets of Korea against the Love Alarm app, we also see Jojo, who has become a wedding planner. The condition for marriage in this era is for the bride and groom to hold their phones and open the app to see if they love each other or not. Because if they love each other, the priest proceeds with the wedding, and if they don't, the wedding is canceled. Then we move to Lingo, who is exercising before going to his university. He finds a large gathering of people voting. He goes to see what's happening and finds many phones thrown on the ground with dozens of corpses. All the phones are open on the Love Alarm app. We discover that these corpses are a group of young men and women aged between 20 and 30 years old. They took their lives by consuming toxic substances because their Love Alarm app didn't ring since its launch 4 years ago. This made them feel rejected by society, and nobody loved them. Since the accident that happened between San and Jojo on the island, San's behavior towards Jojo has completely changed for unknown reasons, to the point where there's no longer any connection between them. Each of them has seen their life and collected their thoughts. Despite this, Jojo tried to communicate a lot with San, but he always used to ignore her, which made her surrender to the idea that he no longer loved her, for unknown reasons. We also find out that during this period, he was involved with a girl with yellow hair named Yuka. However, every time she opens her Love Alarm app in the presence of San, she doesn't receive any notifications indicating that he loves her. Yuka knows that he doesn't love her, but at the same time, she loves him deeply and tries everything to make him like her. The next day, Jojo goes to the university library to study. She is surprised to find Yunjung sitting at the table in front of her. She becomes very nervous and tries to avoid him. After she finishes studying and leaves, she finds him waiting for her outside the library. Strangely, he tells her that he missed her a lot and is happy to see her. Then he leaves before she can respond. San finds out later that he saw Jojo that day and tries to get closer to her. He asks Yunjung why he chose Jojo after everything she did, after she abandoned him without reason. Yunjung responds, "That's for you, but I still have feelings for her, and I will try to get closer to her until the end." Here we go back 4 years. We see Gollum threatening Jojo that if she doesn't leave, she will tell everyone that her parents died by their own hands and that Jojo was with them when they took many antidepressants and closed all the windows, starting fires in every corner of the house. But Jojo managed to escape and get out of the house. Here we discover the surprise that the inventor of the Love Alarm app is DOK, their unknown classmate. In his quest to confess his feelings to Gollum when he met her, she rejected him in a very humiliating way. When he found himself failing at everything, he decided to leave everything behind and end his life, and no one has heard from him since. One day, Jojo receives a message that Gollum withdrew 10 million won from her, which were Jojo's university funds that she had saved up. Jojo searches for her everywhere in the streets and banks, but she can't find her. Later, she goes to her aunt's grocery store and tells her that her daughter stole 10 million won from her. However, her aunt says that it's their problem and they should solve it together. When Gollum returns home, Jojo confronts her, saying she could have borrowed the money instead of stealing it. But Gollum boldly tells her that the money is for her, as she's been wanting to join a singing group for 4 years but couldn't afford it. She blames Jojo for their low living standards and throws Jojo's books and belongings out the window. Jojo goes downstairs to pick up her things, struggling with herself. There she finds Yunjung passing by on his bike. He helps her gather her belongings and suggests they take a walk and talk by the Han River. While chatting, he tells her that he's sure she doesn't reciprocate his feelings, but he tries to keep her happy all the time. He wants to be by her side without expecting her to love him back. Jojo thanks him for understanding her feelings and invites him for coffee as a token of her gratitude. Yunjae starts planning to settle in Busan. He asks his mom to help him find a separate apartment near his workplace there. Then he meets Jojo and tells her that he's about to travel. He asks her to download the Love Alarm app and open it together. The surprise comes when they both open the app and receive notifications that someone loves them. So Yunjae shouts with joy, unable to believe that Jojo really likes him. They decide to have dinner together. There he asks her some questions about herself to get to know each other better. When Jojo returns home, she finds him waiting for her. He starts reproaching her, questioning how she could have suddenly left him and stopped loving him. He wonders why Love Alarm no longer rings in her presence. However, we know that the reason is Jojo's shield feature, which prevents the app from signaling whom she likes to keep her feelings private. But if she disables this feature, Love Alarm will work normally, and it will show that she loves him. Then comes the day when Love Alarm is being upgraded, and the identity of its creator is revealed. On the opening day, the creator, whose face is not visible, talks about the new features of the app. He announces that the new feature will reveal who loves whom by name and even predicts who you will fall in love with in the future. One day, Jojo is studying at the university library, and her friend comes running, telling her to hurry up because they're late for the lecture. They rush until they arrive on time. Her friend opens the Love Alarm app after the new upgrade, and she finds hundreds of people around her whom the app predicts she will love in the future. Her friend advises JoJo to open the app and see who it predicts she will love too. After finishing her lecture, JoJo finds him waiting for her outside after he finishes his work, and she's very happy. They go to the university cafeteria to eat and talk. She asks him what the secret of his extreme happiness today is. He shows her a picture on the app of the girl who is predicted to love him in the future, and it turns out to be her. He tells her he'll wait for her. At the end of the day, she finishes her work at her aunt's shop and tells her about her last customer, the young man from high school. As soon as he enters the store, Love Alarm rings. She understands that he likes her. When she leaves, she encounters the same guy, who confesses his feelings for her and tries to ask her out. She runs away and hides from him. Suddenly, Yoonjae appears in front of her, which reassures her a lot. He gives her a gift, and they go for coffee together. He's worried about her going back home, especially with a guy chasing her, so he offers her to stay at his place, and she agrees. They go back to his house, where Yoonjae fixes the curtain, and JoJo hugs him from behind, wishing him a good night. He's extremely happy and amazed by what's happening. Unfortunately, her love alarm still hasn't rung for him. We learn that the reason is because she has a shield that was sent to her 4 years ago by the app developer, which allows her to hide her feelings from anyone she doesn't want to know. And of course, this shield can't be removed. Here she questions herself. I wonder if she hadn't had that shield. Would her love alarm for Yoonjae have rung by now? The next day, JoJo tells her friend that she suspects the person who appeared and claimed to be the CEO and the idea behind the Love Alarm app on TV isn't the real developer, especially since she still remembers what their colleague, Dioke, hinted at. He implied that he was the developer of the app, and the person who appeared on television didn't resemble Dioke at all. She decides to go to the school herself, get Doc's address and phone number, and contact him to confirm it herself. Unfortunately, when she goes to the school, she's shocked to learn from the principal that Doc passed away, and people say he took his own life. She breaks down and tells her friend that she feels devastated because Dok was a very good person, and also because she will remain trapped in the shield she has forever, which he was the only one who could cancel. She wants to know who the person who appeared instead of Dok and claimed to be the idea behind the app really is. After that, JoJo starts posting on her Resonance World page, which is a satire cartoon page on Instagram. She draws the cartoons herself using artificial intelligence. It has become the most popular page in Korea because she always talks about the latest trends in Korea. We find that Dok wrote her an encouraging comment from his page indicating that he's not dead or anything. It's clear that there's a big secret behind him that we still don't know. The next day, JoJo receives a message from Brian, the imposter who claimed to be the idea behind the Love Alarm project. He asks her to meet him at his company tomorrow because he wants to talk to her, and she does go to meet him. There, she tells him that the real developer from 4 years ago gave her something that no one else has. Immediately, Brian assumes she's referring to the shield. JoJo confirms that it must be Dok. However, Brian denies it, saying that unfortunately, the shield can never be deactivated. He convinces her that the shield is a source of strength for her because it prevents her feelings from being exposed to others, while allowing her to easily identify who loves her. Meanwhile, San is standing nearby, listening to their conversation. He suddenly grabs her hand firmly and asks about the story behind the shield. JoJo is forced to tell him everything. This infuriates him because he realizes that all this time she loved him, but her feelings were hidden. He storms off, leaving her behind. Later, he goes to his girlfriend, Yuka, clearly intoxicated. He asks her why she's never been upset with him, and why she's silent when she knows his heart belongs to someone else. But Yuka doesn't respond to him. She just cries silently. Meanwhile, JoJo receives a notification while at the grocery store that someone 10 meters away loves her. She looks behind the glass and sees Yoonjae. Overjoyed, she runs to hug him. He apologizes for coming to her while being drunk, and explains that he just wanted to see her. He also apologizes for lying to her yesterday, saying that he was at home but had an emergency. It turns out that this journey was to prison. After receiving a message that his parents were in prison for murder, he went to see them. We also learn that this has caused a significant crisis in Yoon-jae's life since childhood, especially after being deprived of his father's presence all his life. The next day, he decides to confess to Jojo about his father's situation in prison. Jojo supports him so much that she even accompanies him to the prison conditions. However, she doesn't enter, and when Yoon-jae does, he tells his father in a sinister tone that he deeply regrets and has decided to repent and do good. It's evident that he's doing this to fulfill a certain requirement and secure his release. But Yoon-jae doesn't respond to him, leaving his father frustrated. He leaves her and walks out, visibly distressed. However, Jojo continues to support him, telling him that he did the right thing. The next day, San goes to Jojo at the university. As soon as he enters the lecture hall, everyone starts taking pictures of him, surprised that Korea's famous model knows Jojo. Jojo feels annoyed and exits the hall, but he follows her and grabs her hands, telling her that he no longer cares about support and that he will only believe in her from now on. At the same time, Yoon-jae is at the company. He opens the Love Alarm app to make sure that Jojo is still on the list of girls who will love him in the future. However, when he opens it, he finds that her picture has disappeared. Shocked, he drops his phone, feeling like Jojo is leaving him again, unaware that it's because of San re-entering her life. When Yuka, San's girlfriend, confirms that San can't love anyone other than Jojo, she decides to break up with him. She can't bear being reminded of Jojo all the time because of the alarm. After several days without her presence in his life, San goes to her house to reconcile. However, she tells him that she's not upset anymore and doesn't feel sorry for herself, but she can't continue with him. She loves someone else. At that moment, her love alarm device goes off, proving that someone loves her. While Yoon-jae is at work, he receives a video of San at Jojo's university. He tries to talk to him. Yoon-jae becomes very agitated and now understands why Jojo disappeared from the list of people who might love him in the future. He rushes out onto the street, desperately trying to find him and make her love him again. The next day, we see Jojo going to Yoon-jae's workplace. She continues crying without saying a word, and he knows it's because of the video. As events unfold, the police are able to access specific recordings from Love Alarm, which lead to solving the murder cases caused by the app. They request the executive director of the company to provide the recordings for the investigation into the murders. However, the executive director explains that the recordings are automatically deleted. Unable to cope, he decides to confront San one day. When he sees him, he punches him in the face, accusing him of selfishness and only thinking about himself. However, San calmly tells him that it's her choice, and she's free to choose what she wants. This angers him even more, insisting that she should choose him no matter what. San retorts, telling him that her heart belongs to her and she has chosen him, Yoon-jae. He must understand that he will always be her first choice. San then gets on the bus with Jojo without her noticing, to check if she still loves him using the love alarm. However, he realizes that she doesn't, and he knows it's because of the shield. He continues to recall his arguments with his father, who threatened to send him back to America if he caused trouble before the elections. He follows Jojo, watching her closely. Suddenly, he stops her and asks her why she didn't tell him she came to his house before they broke up. She explains that his mother prevented her from entering the house, fearing it would cause problems during his father's election campaign. She tried to call him multiple times and sent him voice messages, but he didn't respond. So she decided to break up with him because she loves him and feared causing more trouble. During this time, Gulmi was trying to work at her mother's grocery store and impress the boys. To gather the largest number of Love Alarm users and secure her place among the influential people in Korea, Jojo faced extreme difficulty. She couldn't find anyone who loved her within a 10-meter radius. One day, she receives a message from the app developer, symbolized by a spear. This indicates that she can activate the shield for only one person, and she must genuinely love them. He tries to rectify his mistake, the problem he caused when Jojo fell into the love triangle. Jojo remains indecisive about whom she loves more. She starts comparing her feelings towards Yoon-jae and San, who loves her and tolerates her more. Eventually, she decides to contact Yoon-jae and asks to meet him. The first thing she does when she sees him is activate the spear feature. An alert goes to Yoon-jae, indicating that Jojo loves him. Meanwhile, Yuka, San's ex-girlfriend after breaking up with him and getting involved with someone else, realizes she doesn't love him. She reminisces about her feelings when she was with San, who didn't love her back, and feels sorry for the man she's now involved with. Then, we see Brian, the fake app developer, monitoring cameras in the hospital room where the real Doc is. He constantly watches over him to ensure he doesn't wake up from the coma. But one day, he senses something wrong. The screen always shows Doc lying on the bed, motionless, with nothing happening around him. He decides to go to the hospital himself to check on Doc. The surprise is that Doc hasn't been in the hospital all this time, which triggers Brian's panic. He starts yelling, afraid that Doc might reveal his secret. He's unsure of Doc's intentions. This is when we learn that when Doc attempted to end his life with the young men who ended theirs in the streets of Seoul, he suddenly vomited all the drugs he took. He becomes the sole survivor among them, which prompts him to rethink everything in his life and monitor Brian from a distance. The next day, Jojo happily boards the bus and arrives at the university. Yoonjae sends her a message to check on her well-being. As she enters the university, everyone starts staring and talking about her because of the video clip with San. However, she remains indifferent and happy that she confessed her love for Yoonjae. Her friend tries to delete all the spread videos in the university to protect Jojo. Later, Brian receives a message informing him that an unauthorized code has been installed in Jojo's Love Alarm app, the Spear. He becomes furious and can't figure out who did it. On this day, Junie is clever enough to make her love alarm ring for 4 high school boys by doing cute gestures and offering them free food samples. They instantly fall in love with her. While walking, Jojo encounters the guy who used to stalk her. It turns out he's committed numerous crimes against women using the Love Alarm app. He confesses to being one of her biggest followers on social media. Despite using the app for years, he's still lonely. Jojo lures him until the police arrest him. The case quickly becomes a public outcry in Korea under the name Resonance World, her social media page. Meanwhile, Jojo and Yoonjae's relationship deepens further after she reveals the shield and spear she had hidden from him. This revelation shatters her due to the pressure from the media, Love Alarm, and other issues in her life. She decides to pack her bags and travel to Jeju Island to attend the marathon. Meanwhile, we see Doc meeting Yoonjae, telling him that Jojo chose the shield and then the spear, assuring him that her feelings are genuine. This prompts Yoonjae to surprise Jojo by going to Jeju Island. When she sees him, she runs to him and hugs him tightly. We also witness Doc visiting Brian, the company where we later learn Brian is Doc's older brother. Doc asks him to delete the second version of the app because it caused terrible crimes. However, Brian refuses, stating that the first version made people feel united. If the second version had been available before 23 young men ended their lives, it might have given them hope. However, Doc is unconvinced and seems determined to develop the app further, though his intentions remain unclear. And with that, our series concludes for today. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and check out our other selection of recaps. Take care.